Well, hello, Bizzare Story friends. If you're tuned in now, you are listening to the Bizzare AF, a place where we talk about the strange, the unusual, the unknown, and all things bizarre as fuck. I'm Aleisha, your host for today's episode. As always, we ask that you keep an open mind, keep a skeptical ear, but keep listening on to the facts as we take you on our newest journey, The Blessed Knife, a Castrato tale. Do Re Mi, my co-host with the most. How you doing, Kevin?
Hey, girlfriend.
What is up?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. Right now we are consuming a tropical, actually, beverage. I didn't realize how tropical it was. Oh yeah, here we go. If you're watching, out of our black goblets from the Madonna Inn. Cheers.
This is a rum breeze.
It's really good. I didn't expect it. I took a sip right when we did the intro, and I was like, "Oh my god, what is this? This is great. I'm gonna be feeling it by the end of this."
It has that coconut rum flavor.
I love coconut.
I just got back from Hawaii, so it's like perfect transition.
Yeah. You're back in the mountains and landlocked, so we can still have like paradise here in our cups.
Thank you.
You had a good time?
Yeah, it was a great time.
Good.
Great time.
Good
to be back home in Colorado, though.
Totally.
Me lovies, some Colorado.
Yeah, I guess you have to, right? Because you're living here. Yeah. But paradise isn't too fucking bad.
Right. Don't complain.
No. Okay, so I'm aware of your singing proclivities and how great you are. I have been serenaded by you on stage many a night.
You have.
Many a night.
You have.
I loved it.
It was all about you.
I'm like, oh yeah, no. Keep on going, Kevin. It's always about me. No, I'm kidding. It's so not. But tell me, how long have you been singing?
Well, I don't do it professionally, but I've always liked to sing. They tried to get me to sing in high school. Okay. Refused. I wouldn't do it. No, I wasn't as adventurous, I guess, back then.
It's so that's so funny to me because it's the exact opposite of who you are today.
I know. Yeah, I'm a little more. Well, I'm an extroverted introvert.
Yes.
Yeah. So I've gotten better at that as time goes on. But anyway, and then I didn't really. It was karaoke. Blah 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 blah. And then once I got snatched up to do Hedwig. Yeah. Which that, by the way, I didn't even audition for that. I was just like, someone saw me and they're like,
they saw you?
And
this is in San Francisco.
They came to a party that Roy and I were having, and they saw a picture of me in drag and Halloween.
Oh yeah.
And they said, "Do you sing?" And I said, "Yeah, I can carry a tune." And they said, "Would you be interested in doing a show?" I'm like, "What show?" "Hedwig and the Angry Inch." I'm like, "What?" What?
Me?
So as I got sucked into that, and then not sucked in, but pulled into that, thankfully. And then, would do an occasion. I'm not like a musical fan. And I know the gays are going to want to take my card away.
Yeah, maybe.
Or deduct points.
You could get some points deducted.
Right. I've got room. It's okay. But I'm not a super huge fan. Like, I do love Chicago, but
Chicago's good.
Yeah. So I don't like to participate in them necessarily. And I have done a couple, which I've always enjoyed.
Sure.
I've always enjoyed doing them. Just nothing I seek out. So that's my singing
history
repertoire, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, you when you were singing to me on stage, it was that. I mean, you sounded great.
Thank you.
So you didn't ever do any like training or anything like that?
No.
No.
And I think if I had done professional training, obviously I would be better.
Well, you still could.
I could still, yeah, you're right. Of course.
You don't have to. It's not like it's not like you're 6 feet under and you can't do it anymore.
Yeah. So that's it.
Okay. So
Do you sing?
I am terrified of singing.
You are.
You have heard me sing.
We do karaoke.
Mm-hmm. You've heard me sing before. I don't think I have a bad voice. I just kind of feel like it's bearing your soul. And what if people don't like my soul?
It's always that element of judging, right?
I think that's the number one thing. Yeah. That I would be judged, but it's very scary for me. I'm trying to get past that.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
But what if I told you there was an entire echelon of men who were rock stars, okay, in their day? They're operatic singers. Opera was like, those were rock stars.
That was singing.
That was like
it.
Yeah. Everyone's like clamoring to be near them.
Yeah.
But these opera singers actually paid a really big price for their art form.
Uh-huh.
What's the biggest price that you would pay to be like a rock star, Kevin?
The biggest price I would pay.
Would you
to be a rock star? Well, I don't know. I guess you could give up your privacy, all those things, known things.
The normal stuff.
Uh-huh. How far would I go? I don't think I would go very far.
Not very far.
No.
So you wouldn't take off a limb for it?
I would not.
You wouldn't forego puberty?
I would not.
Well, that's what the castrati did.
Ew.
Yeah.
What?
So I'll just start from the beginning.
Okay.
Castration. Kevin, I'm looking at you right now. You're definitely squirming over there when I say castration. I'm really sorry.
I can already see just knowing the culture of humanity, I can already tell why. I can already kind of figure out why that's going to happen. I'm gonna see if I'm right.
Okay. So, we're used to castration, right? No, I mean, not personally, but like
I'm used to it.
I'm used to castration. But like, animals, you have 2 dogs, upstairs that have been, they've been neutered. We don't call it castration necessarily.
No.
I have a cat who's been neutered. And that's great because, the reason we do it is we're preventing the animals from reproducing and having like yearnings that the good old puberty ends up giving us, right? So, castration as far as a form of enslavement goes back years. We're talking, ancient Sumeria, castrating slaves for punishment or means of control, right?
Right.
Have you heard of eunuchs?
Yes, but I don't think I fully know. Like, I don't think I could fully define it. But do they have eunuchs on... what's the dragon show on HBO?
Game of Thrones?
Game of Thrones. Did they have...
I feel like... now you're talking to the wrong person because I haven't watched any of those or House of Dragons or whatever.
Yeah, neither.
Both of us are like fucking out of it. I believe they do, though.
Okay.
They do have a eunuch.
Okay.
So eunuchs were typically used as harem guards, like in the Middle East. And the idea was like these dudes are not going to bother anyone as far as like sex. Like they're not going to go up to the harem like the women in the harem because they don't have the need for it. It wasn't relevant to them, right? Because they've been castrated.
Yeah.
Or they also were used as higher political advisors. The thought behind that was, okay, they don't have heirs that they're going to try to have succeed them. So it would really be a moot point for them to even try to take a throne. Being an advisor is powerful enough. So they would castrate advisors too. And this is historically, okay?
Right. So they couldn't have children that could take over.
Right. Like heirs to place on a throne. Like, typically you'd have to have someone who would be beneath you, right?
Got it.
To make sure that your power was, strong and you stayed in power for a longer period of time. But singers who are castrated, okay, these can be traced back to Byzantine choirs. They're actually music pieces pointing out like a specific voice, which was like a castrated male.
What is a Byzantine?
Byzantine's like the Byzantine Empire.
Okay.
It's an area. It's like an ancient area, 400 AD. A civilization.
Okay.
That had it was a great civilization, had songbooks and things like that, but they also had castrated singers. And those.
So were all of the males castrated if they were a singer?
Not all of them.
Okay.
Not all men were castrated, just specific ones.
Okay.
So that was around 400 AD. But the group that I wanted to talk about today are the Italians.
Okay. Well, they're known for their opera, right?
They're known for opera, but they also make everything beautiful, right? And tasty. And popular. I know. Oh God,
pizza.
I could pizza. Oh, pasta. Yeah. Oh, Negroni Spagliato. So, you know, if anyone could make a eunuch a rock star, it's the Italians, right?
Okay. Okay.
So, around the mid 16th century is kind of where we start to see the male, the start of a male soprano or a falsettist as a part of a specific music piece. And the pieces that I'm talking about, there's one called Two Dialogues Upon Music, which is, by the way, it's important to note, women were not allowed to sing in the papal region. So like Catholic areas, women were not allowed to sing in choirs. Yeah, go figure. So you couldn't have a female soprano.
Couldn't have those high sopranos.
Yeah, so you had to have a male
castrated so he could sing high notes.
Or boys, right? So they would have boys in choirs that could hit those notes before they reached puberty. Yeah. So, but the problem with having these boys was that every time you would have a boy, be trained high enough and be able to hit those notes, what would happen in 3 years? They would
go to puberty.
And then all that training, all that training is just gone. So they'd have to train another group. But a castrated singer from Spain ended up coming to the Vatican City, and he could hit those high notes and he could sustain them because he had like the lungs of a grown man, because he was a grown man who had been castrated. There was no need to retrain every 3 years. If you had a castrated singer.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, go ahead.
Castration, his castration was secondary. I mean, it wasn't. That was just a happenstance. That wasn't why he was singing, or was that connected, or is that like?
That's a great question. Like, what came first?
Yeah, I'm just saying because, and you might be getting into it here in a second, but I'm just wondering if for some other reason he was castrated. It just happens. You know, there's guys that can. Okay, what's that a cappella group?
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. And there was all the videos.
Yes, and there was that cute guy with the little bowl haircut who can reach the same high notes as that girl can. Sometimes I can't even tell them apart.
Right.
And that's just by nature. He wasn't castrated. Well, I'm assuming he wasn't castrated.
No.
So I was just wondering if you knew if that was kind of an intentional thing to get him there, or
well, so ultimately they practiced a little bit more castration in Spain, and that was like the Moors. So the Moors came, and this is not necessarily something that I had researched. I just know off the top of my head.
Oh my God! Okay.
Oh my God! Let me just pull this knowledge out. So so the Moors came to Spain, and it was really a form of punishment and slavery. So you would castrate for those reasons. I'm sure what ended up happening is you had a castrated person who started singing, and you're like, holy fuck. Or they were really good at singing before, and then they had been castrated.
Yeah.
Well, this guy came down to the Sistine Chapel and was like, hey bros, check me out. Yeah. And he could sustain these things. He had a great voice to begin with. I mean, I'm assuming he had a great voice to begin with, but but you know, Roman Catholic folks were, you know, oh my God, you know,
because they didn't have men that could hit these notes.
You don't have that many men who can sustain the notes for as long, and it's not going up into that like head voice. Yeah. Right. So like when you have, which, you know, you probably know a little bit better than I do, but you have different voices. You can like, you know, speak from like your diaphragm, and that's like a stronger place.
Yep. Your throat, which you're not supposed to do.
You're not supposed to. Your head is like, if you have a heady voice, it's just not, it can be strong, but like it's not as sustainable. But if you can get those high notes and do them like from like a more grounded place, then you're, you know, it's better.
This makes you good.
Yeah. So having like a male soprano is not very common.
Right.
But you see this guy who'd been castrated. Oh, cool. We can have great singers. We just have to have these boys castrated beforehand
to make them not go through puberty.
Yeah, we're already putting them through training.
So this guy seeded the idea of them castrating these boys to keep them high.
That's kind of where they think it really started, right? Or the resurgence, because we had these castrated singers or eunuch singers back in 400 AD, but like the resurgence in popularity had to do with the type of music that was being sung, the operas that were incredibly popular, and the fact that women couldn't sing, like all of these things coming together.
Right.
Of course, it creates a great atmosphere for, a castrati or a castrated singer to, rise up through. So it becomes incredibly popular in Vatican City. And I'm sure
the
castrated singers, right?
Yes.
I'm sure you're dying to know how these men, or really boys, are chosen to be a castrato and what the process looks like, right?
Because you said not all of the little boy singers were castrated.
Not all of them are.
I'm sure they were selected by their voice.
Yes, that's part of it. So we'll get into the how, and then but also the how of how they actually castrate.
Oh God.
Right? I know you're gonna have to breathe. We're gonna have to do some breathing exercises over here.
Lamaze.
Whatever. Okay, so the start of the process for selecting the castrati, it would have to be done at a young age, right? You can't do it once somebody's already hit puberty, or you can't do it like when someone's 18. It has to be around the onset of puberty or before.
Well, they would castrate for other reasons after puberty, but for them, they were castrating before puberty to sustain the voice, right?
Yes, okay. To sustain that voice.
Okay.
So there were a couple of options or folks who were chosen for that. One.
For what? Castration?
For castration.
The actual act of doing it?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, to become a castrati. One.
Okay, I feel so stupid.
What?
I just realized what castrati means.
I should have said it. That was so silly for me.
I understand what that is.
So there's two terms, right? Castrati and castrato. One's plural, one's, singular.
Sure.
But it's a castrated male singer.
Oh, I thought it was the person that was doing the castration.
No. It's the singer
if you
themselves.
have been castrated, then you're a castrati. And if you're part of that group, you're a castrato. Part of a castrated group.
It's
reverse. I am a castrato. I am with castratis.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yes.
Got it.
Okay. So the way that they would select would be, one, you were a talented voice singer, like you were saying. Okay, they're showing talent. We want to be able to use this voice because he's killer, he's one in a million. You don't find them very often. Two, you're an orphan.
Wait, you're saying if you're an orphan, you're castrated, or you're saying if you're an orphan singer?
If you're an orphan and you're willing to sing and be castrated.
Oh, if you're an orphan and you want to sing, then we're going to castrate you in hopes that you're going to keep this.
Yeah, and
tone.
then and the poor
but you have
orphan
to be a good singer, right? Or not?
Depending. I mean, yes. But typically, you'd have to be able to carry a note. They're not going to just have someone who's
some
like totally
orphan. Yeah, we're going to castrate you so you can maybe sing.
Yeah. Hey, little Oliver. Like, come over.
That is what's crossing my mind. Poor Oliver's asking for some food. Well, let's castrate you and see if you can sing.
How bad do you really want that food?
Oh my God, yeah, right.
But I mean, kind of it is like, these kids are up against it. They don't have a future. They don't have prospects. Like, they have to make a decision pretty quick. The third option is that, you were poor, right? So you don't necessarily have to be an orphan. You could just be really poor. And honestly, like between the talent, the poor, the orphan, it was often a mix of these things that these boys were. So yeah, very rarely do you have
a rich
kid. There were some, but not very often.
And if do you happen to know of the rich kids that were castratos?
Yeah.
Why were they? because they wanted to maintain their voice,
like you know how like those people are like, you know, intense. It's I'm just doing it for the art, you know,
yeah,
like
sure. I'm rich and I can do anything I want.
I can do anything I want. Like this is my my purpose in life, mom and dad.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like that.
Yeah.
But there was one guy who was like that, and his aunt or someone like gifted him 2 vineyards, which he basically lived off the money for that, and was able to just pursue his dreams as a castrati, you know, which is so stupid.
Right. I'm choosing to be I'm
choosing art. Yeah. I'm so avant-garde. Like you just don't understand me. I need, you know, it's like, shut the fuck up. You got your balls cut off and you're rich. Okay. You like you're really not.
Yeah. Oh my God. You just think of the people nowadays that do just stupid shit because they're rich.
Exactly.
I
like to kind of almost create
Island
problems.
Boys. Island Boys. You know the Island Boys?
No. What are Island Boys?
Oh my God. You've got to TikTok these guys.
The Island.
They're like, okay, I'm just gonna leave it at that. Everyone in the audience, TikTok Island Boys.
Okay.
And then come back to me.
Come back. Send us a message on anything.
Yeah.
Okay. So where was I at? Oh yeah. So, you know, we have these boys, they're either skilled singers and they're poor or both, and working as a singer for the Catholic Church gives them a means to actually earn money, whether it's the Catholic Church or even the opera, right? So these boys, they're forced to make a decision relatively quick, and one that's going to affect the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's like a huge, it's a huge.
Yeah.
You're giving me exactly what I wanted. This is exactly what I was like thinking when I'm like, oh, I have to do this topic. And Kevin, you're giving me all the reactions I was looking for. So at 13, I was not in my right mind to know what a decision like that means. I don't know about you, Kevin. Would you have had any kind of idea of what that was even like as a child? 13.
Being a castrati?
I mean, look, you're up against it, making a decision like that. Okay, I'm going to either be poor for the rest of my life or have my balls.
Oh my God, that sound, when you put it like that. I'll be honest. If it was a choice, I'd probably lose my balls.
Well, yeah, because you're like, I'm not eating. I'm not like, I don't have anything like a roof over my head.
Yeah.
I can potentially sing, and they're willing to pay for me to go to like school and stuff like that.
And you want my balls?
You want my balls? Yeah, take them.
Especially at that age, because I'm not entirely sure I would even know I would care.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Because you don't have like those feelings yet.
You're really not. I mean, some kids do, but most kids I don't think do. Although maybe now they do, but whatever. Yeah, I just don't. Yeah, I think I would have done it. I think I'd have done it.
Yeah, I think that it's for us to sit here and just be like, oh yeah, there's no way. Like I would never do that. Like I don't think that people understand being really up against it.
Totally.
Like in abject poverty, right?
Exactly.
And that'll make you have decisions.
I've been on the edge. I've not been homeless, but I've been like butt fucking ass broke like every day of my life for a good long while, and it sucks.
It totally sucks.
And so I get it, like being homeless, like you see those movies where they portray those people that are just really bad off. You see them every day.
You see them.
So I mean, if they're truly down, you can't judge people for deciding, and their children. Yeah, you don't have anyone else to support you or help you understand things or.
But what if you even have parents who are like, we're really poor.
Yeah.
You're a good singer.
Yeah.
The church or like this group is willing to give us money.
Yeah.
And that's how the rest of your family is going to eat.
Exactly.
Like you can't, I don't think you can blame these kids for making that decision.
No.
There was actually, a quote by this guy. Now, excuse me, I'm really bad at pronunciation with with Italian. Yeah. Well, yeah, foreign names in general. So, Gaurizio Uberti, he was a
Gaurizio.
I don't know. Grazio. I think that's probably it. Uberti, he is a music dude in 1630. This quote that he said kind of talks about that process, the thought process of like the parents, the children, these people who are kind of manipulating potentially these boys. So he says, I rage against certain inhuman people, unworthy of the name father and master, who in the hope of some profit try to ensure that their children, accustomed to singing with a pleasing voice, do not lose it as they grow up, thus subjecting them to bonds, to cuts, in order to make them profitable for themselves and useless to the work of nature.
I hear that.
Sure.
But like we just said a minute ago,
it's easy for this dude to say it, isn't it?
It's easy for him to say. That's the bottom line.
But you do have some parents who are like, oh yeah, we can use some extra cash. Hey, Fabrizio or whatever, you're a decent singer. We need a paycheck. The stage parents today, right? Like you have stage parents or like child actors who have gone through fucking hell and have basically paid for their families. Yeah. Like singers, things like that.
Yeah.
Who, parents willingly
completely take advantage of them. Oh my God, these parents. Yeah.
Yeah. So I could see both sides.
Yeah, I get it.
But I do think it's easy to...
It's easy to say that you're taking advantage and doing awful things on your benefit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really super easy.
Yeah.
One thing that I think is probably, we haven't gone over yet, that is useful. So you can't wear your, earmuffs or anything like that. You have to listen to this. Is how did they castrate these boys?
Oh, shit fire.
Be ready, okay?
Oh, God. Okay, wait.
Yes.
So do you know how I think this is how they do cows. Do you know how they do cows?
Don't they put like a rubber band?
Yes.
Okay. Explain, please.
So they... I can't even imagine. So they take the band, they just tie it really tight.
Like a rubber band.
Right on the top, right above the balls on the sack. And they just tie really tight. And it eventually just it's cutting off the circulation.
Yeah.
And eventually they just fall off.
So you have like these pastures of just like
balls.
Just like dehydrated.
What's that? Oh, that's a ball.
That looks like a prune. Nope, it's not prunes. Those are
my mom listens to this show, and I'm frightened to say this, but just fast forward a couple minutes.
Yeah.
So, okay, we're all adults, hopefully listening to this show.
We're all adults, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think so.
Okay.
I am, I think.
hope so.
Yeah. You should be adult.
You should be adult. So, there's times when you do stuff.
Right. Things get a little crazy.
Get a little cray-cray.
Yeah.
Just try some stuff.
Of course. Yeah.
And let me just say.
Yes.
Me no likey.
Okay. Yeah. You know what you like, and there's definitely something you don't like.
Definitely some things I don't like. Let's just leave it at that. So this conversation that you're about to say is going to be a little uncomfortable.
Okay. As you today, maybe if you were younger, like you said, you wouldn't really give a shit. Whatever. Okay. So how did they castrate? So ultimately we're talking typically boys with good voices were taken back to a back street or like a back street, like barber surgeon, think of Sweeney Todd.
Yeah. Yes.
Sweeney Todd, but like your parents asked him to do this to you. He's not just like killing him, Yeah. So he takes, these boys are placed in a super hot bath with special herbs and spices, and they're doped up on opium because there is no anesthesia at that time.
Gotcha.
So they're all fucked up on opium.
Yeah.
In this really hot bath. And take a deep breath, Kevin.
Okay, so they put them in a hot bath, all high on opium.
They're all fucked up on opium, yeah. Super high.
Okay. Oh, no.
Okay.
Okay.
You breathing okay?
Yes, I'm breathing.
So the barber would then squash the testicles and remove them by slitting the groin and severing the spermatic cord.
Okay.
You okay over there?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Okay. So in its heyday, in Italy, 4,000 boys would be castrated a year.
Okay, so we have to go back for a second.
Yes, let's go back. Rewind.
So are the testi like gone, or are they just severing the thing that connects allows the sperm to pass through?
That's a great question. Well, the testicles are removed.
They are removed.
Yeah, so they're because
so they just like slit. They go.
They slit the groin, take the testicles out, take that spermatic and that severs the spermatic cord. Yeah.
And then they just sew it back up.
Then they sew it back up.
God damn.
And I'm sure that like sometimes, it wouldn't work or it wasn't done well, or maybe it was done slightly different.
Do you think they knew? How did they know what they were doing?
Well, this had been a practice. Like ultimately it had really been a practice since like ancient times.
So this is probably one surgery they had down pat.
Yeah. Out of all the surgeries, this was like, okay, it's only your balls. It's not like severing a limb.
It's like a cataract. We got it.
Yeah, it's like super easy, quick incision.
Damn.
Okay, but also there would be boys. Let me not.
Keep in mind, sorry to interrupt again, but these boys were just high. They weren't. They numb.
Were no, they weren't.
They weren't unconscious.
No, I'm assuming
that shit had to hurt like an effer.
Well, and you think about it, like one thing I thought, like maybe if it was a hot enough bath, you wouldn't be able to feel anything.
Yeah, what was the hot bath about?
Well, the hot bath was, I think it was like antiseptic with the herbs and spices and stuff. It was to kind of make sure that they were super clean when the surgery was done. Gotcha. That's what I assume. Maybe it was also a relaxation technique, but one would think that you would use cold water or like something, that would kind of numb the area.
Boys knew what was happening, what was about to happen.
I mean, I'm sure that there are cases where they didn't know, but yeah, a lot of them would go in knowing that they were going to be castrated.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And not everyone, like, when we're talking about that time, infection was rampant. So it's like, not everyone would survive this, right? Not everyone would survive. There were awful infections. People didn't know that you were supposed to clean things, I'm sure that they started doing the baths just because they saw that was helpful for the majority, but they didn't really understand germs the way that we understand them today. So, the thought of like keeping things clean and like, using antiseptic and using, Neosporin or something like that.
Just go buy a tube of Neosporin from the market.
Yeah, like none of that stuff. It was like a thought. So, so some of these boys would die, right? Like not all of them would survive. One, and of those 4,000 boys that would be castrated a year, not all 4,000 of them would become famous. We're talking about a small amount of people. Of those 4,000 a year that would even become opera singers. So the others would, one, hopefully they survived the actual surgery, right? And then two, their option was singing in a church choir. Otherwise, you're out of luck. Like, what if you go through this whole process and then they're like, yeah, you're not good enough. So now you have to like just live as a castrated person.
Yeah, sorry about it.
Yeah.
Sorry about it.
Sorry, you didn't really make the cut. You're like, I did make the cut. Oh, the cut is made. It's there.
God. Oh, how sad.
So sad. So, that was only the start of these, potential castrato, careers. These boys were in intensive music conservatories where, they would study singing, performing, enunciation, reading music, you name it. And that shit is exhausting. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, they were doing this for their career, right? So
it was like their job.
Their job. So they were doing this probably, every hour of every day that they were awake. I mean, their focus was getting them to be good.
Yeah. Yeah. They lived.
So it had to be grueling.
It had to be grueling. Yeah. And these were long, grueling days. Like they lived and breathed music. So it's not like they were like living, unless you became famous, then maybe eventually you'd start living a nice life. But like, this was not the lap of luxury. These were people who were desperate to make it work and had really risked it all. in the name of, a career, a singing career.
Yeah.
So a couple of famous castrato I thought that we'd talk about. Farinelli was a very famous one at the time. He actually sang in London, and women were heard squealing after his performance, squealing, "One God, one Farinelli," and "Long live the knife, the blessed knife." Okay.
Jesus Christ. I mean, in other words, thank you for castrating your balls off.
Yeah. Like, thank God for that fucking knife that took your balls out, which is where the title of this episode comes from, is from that, that swooning. It was honestly like the Beatles
early
invasion.
Elvis.
Yeah. Early Elvis or the Beatles invasion.
Yeah.
Only he was forced into being castrated, right?
Jesus.
So, these men, there were a lot of social issues for the castrati. Not all of them were treated like rock stars, right? Not all of them became operatic, famous singers. That was the minority. They were social outcasts and accused of, awful things like, infidelity, or like, trying to tempt men and being homosexuals. They were seen, really as outsiders within the community. Nobody, like, maybe because they are these like artists who did this, like, they're kind of fucking weirdos. They're seen outside of the actual culture. They weren't really embraced aside from their singing skills.
And probably a lot of them didn't have a choice.
No.
And do you think the Catholics were doing this to these people, even though it was in their religion? Do you think they were behaving this way, or do you think it was people outside of the religion that were treating them this way?
Oh, everyone. I mean, if you
even
think of
the Catholics who knew that why they were doing it.
Yeah. No, I mean,
yeah,
they're probably sitting there, like, of course, it's like the tale as old as time. These people who are like, oh, well, you're morally, like, because you got your balls cut off, there's something wrong with you. And like, instead of like having compassion like a Christian should, and that's like what their God says, right?
Yeah.
That's the exact opposite. They would pass judgment on them, and it was something they didn't really understand. So, they would be social outcasts, which is really fucking sad, right? So in 1587, Pope Sixtus actually outlawed marriage for the castrati because there was no purpose for family, right? Like,
so the only purpose for marriage is propagation.
Exactly.
And so since you can't do that, there is no need for you to marry somebody.
There's no need for you to marry someone.
And you're saying the Pope did that?
The Pope did, yeah. Pope Sixtus said,
we cut off your balls. We're going to cut off your balls. I'm sanctioning cutting off your balls.
Yeah.
And by the way, now you have no rights to marry anyone. Yeah. Because we cut off your balls.
We really want to hear you in our choirs, but like, aside from rights, like, you don't have any rights.
I don't have any rights.
Yeah. Sorry, because like there's no reason, like, even if you fall in love with someone, which is possible, right?
You don't need balls to fall in love.
Yeah. You just need like a brain. So,
it's disgusting.
It's super disgusting. So, it was outlawed for them. So they were, once again, it just kind of shows you that, like, how they were outside of the social, they were social pariahs, really. People at the time actually saw the issues of having castrati and pushed Pope Benedict in 1748 to outlaw the barbaric practice of castration for these boys. So instead of straight up like outlawing it, he actually reiterated some prohibitions against amputating body parts, except in the cases of like medical necessity. So he's like, people are like, hey, you need to like, stop doing castration. These castrati like shouldn't be in your choirs. It's wrong. It's barbaric. He said, yeah, I hear you. It's really not good to amputate different body limbs and stuff. Mic drop. And you're like, God, that's not, you missed the whole point, okay?
Right.
You missed the whole point, Benedict.
Oh my God.
What the fuck? So, ultimately, like, what you kind of see from that is like, okay, these Catholic choirs, it's a necessity for them to have male sopranos in there. Okay, fine, whatever, cool. Noted.
Okay, how about you let the fucking women sing?
Bingo.
Here's an idea.
Yes. Yeah. It's like, do as I say, not as I do. Like, yeah, castrati are bad. But we love him in our choirs.
Oh, God.
It's infuriating. Yeah.
Exactly.
In France, they were disgusted by this practice. Of course, they would be Frenchies. So Jean-Jacques Rousseau is quoted in 1768 in the Dictionary of Music saying, in Italy, there are fathers so cruel as to sacrifice nature to fortune and submit their children to this operation of castration. So now, okay, they're saying, yeah, no, we're not doing castration. The castrati, the church is saying, the castrati that we have now, this was medical necessity. Okay. So let me tell you a couple of the medical necessities that occurred.
So sure.
Okay. So Farfanelli, the one that I was talking about before, well, he fell off of a horse, which is why he was castrated.
Oh,
pretty common.
Sure.
Yeah. And then another one, Domenico Mustafa was bitten by a wild boar.
In his balls?
Right, in his balls. Yeah.
So we had to castrate him.
I mean, like, really, nature was doing it for us. Like, like the wild boar really castrated. We didn't do it.
Right.
We just gave him a place.
He can sing real good.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. We've actually been teaching him for a while. He just had a mishap with a wild boar. Like, so fucking stupid. So moving forward, in the 19th century, you know, that silly little ban on women singing. It was overturned in the Catholic states, which are those papal states that, you know,
and when was this?
The 19th century.
19th century, okay.
So now we have the people really questioning why there is even a need or a want for castrati at this point. Those soprano voices that they were looking for, women can naturally sing. Yeah. Duh. Yeah. So the popularity of the castrati really waned. There were still some roles in operas, you know, specifically written for castrati, because that was really what it was. It was like there were a lot of really famous operas where you needed to have a male castrati.
Written for men that could sing high.
Right. But at that time, right, that's hard to find. It's hard to find just in general.
Yeah.
So there were still roles in those operas, but 1824 was when the final role for a specific, like for castrati, actually was
called
written.
out for a castrati.
Yeah, was composed. So I thought I'd kind of talk about like the last castrato, and that's Alessandro Moreschi. And once again, I'm sorry, I'm the fucking whatever.
Is he Italian?
He is Italian, yes. And when you look up castrato online, like just the search terms, he's the first one to come up. And I'm sure you're wondering what Alessandro sounded like. I know that I did.
I've been wondering this whole time.
Yeah, like what is the point?
Like I hear a thought, I hear it in my head, but I don't know.
So before I actually even hit play, I want to just warn folks to turn down the audio slightly.
Oh, could be a little high.
It can be just a little bit high. So, so here we go. Here's Alessandro.
Okay.
Okay, I'm just gonna have to start to
can I be a critical judge for a second?
It's a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah. So I'm gonna put on my Simon Cowell hat.
Oh
for
yes,
a second.
please do. We need the black V-neck and everything. Yeah,
the white turtle, the white V-neck.
Or now it's white.
Yeah. So we had some good vibrato.
Yes.
There was a note. There was really some nice steady vibrato.
Right.
There was a note.
There was a note, yeah. 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 So
it was so not good.
Yeah.
I don't think that was good. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm just used to the Adeles and the Celines and the Arianas that I'm like, what was that? But
yeah.
And maybe back then it was great, but gosh. Well, and of course I get the high notes now because that's what I was picturing in my head.
Yes. That super high notes.
Super high.
Mm-hmm.
But do you really think that was part of the castration?
Well, yeah.
Was he I'm sorry, can I remember? Was he castrated before or after puberty?
Before
puberty.
And he had like one of those like wild boar incidents where he like fell off of a horse or like
a boar. Right. Yeah. So he had to cut off because the boar bit it.
That's why he was castrated.
Do you think, of course we can't know this, but do you think that he just happened to be like...
Well, okay, so that is something that did come up. They said, well, maybe he actually had like some kind of internal hernia, which caused him to have to get... They don't really know for sure why he was castrated. He was a singer, though, in Rome, and I think they call him something like the angel of Rome or something like that, of Vatican or whatever, like his voice.
Could he have just been his vocal cords were such that he was just a naturally high singer anyway? Or do you think that the puberty prevented him? I think it definitely helped him because the whole idea behind the castrati was like, you have these really high notes and these men who have huge lungs, like of a man, like these huge broad chests. Yeah, but it's the vocal cords that do that, and I just find it, and I could be wrong. I'm not a medical person. I don't think your balls create the testosterone that are actually helping you do that. I don't think the semen is the key. So to say that cutting off your balls stops your vocal cords from expanding or whatever it does to give you this lower voice.
Yeah.
I'm not buying it.
Well, it is it is a thing.
Yeah.
And that guy did have, I don't know. I think that there are probably other ways to do it, but this was a way that they did it. Yeah. So, he was the last castrato.
Okay.
And he was the only one that's been recorded. That's why,
Really?
Yeah. So this is the only castrato who has actually been recorded.
Well, probably because it
died off, really.
The time when they could start recording was this time when he was alive. Yeah.
So I also thinking about it, I'm like, was he as good as some of these other ones like Farfanelli?
Well, that's what I was thinking too.
Probably not.
Maybe these other guys were like way better.
Yeah. I'm sure that like for people to be swooning and like Beatlemania, they had like amazing voices. I wouldn't say that Alessandro's, I think that he had a nice voice, but I mean, fuck, my head kind of is pounding just from hearing.
Like, I don't think I could listen to that for very long.
No, I couldn't.
I'd be like, ooh.
Yeah, but I mean, also you're thinking about it when you see it. If you're in the Sistine Chapel,
everything.
And it's like there's acoustics and stuff like that.
Changes everything, yeah.
So, I actually have like a description, and we'll have some images, we'll have links to images in the show notes, but this was a quote from somebody who knew him. So his external appearance differs little from that usual for a singer. He's of medium or rather small stature. He is his likable face is completely beardless, his chest remarkably broad and powerful. His speaking voice has a metallic quality. Yeah, I could hear that metallic quality when you're listening to that.
Yeah.
Fuck. Like a very high speaking tenor.
Cat in a can.
Exactly. His voice and demeanor make a youthful impression reinforced by his lively conversation, which add to the altogether charming picture that this singer presents. Now, Alessandro died in 1922, and with that was the last planned castrato. Now, whether or not there have been people who have been chemically castrated, that's, I've heard stories of that, to retain their vocal cords and high notes.
Gotcha.
But that's kind of the story of the castrato, the blessed knife.
And by the way, I just want to point out, I didn't mention this before, if people aren't watching, when Aleisha played that clip, she had a picture of
Alessandro, the final one.
Yeah.
So you can watch that. We have YouTube, and we also have on Spotify and the other ones.
All of them. Yeah.
So I thought that I would just clean the dust off of this sign in our Bizzare AF world. But the fact that it even fucking existed is kind of insane.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's crazy.
Yes. You think, well, that's what when I said before is like, oh, I think I know why they castrated people. And it's exactly why I thought they did what you ended up saying. I was right. Because people they don't know. It's just the things that we do. Let me just put it that way. The things humans do are so effing bizarre sometimes.
Yes.
Like so what bizarre. And why? Why? I
mean, why not?
Yeah.
I'd say that's probably the idea is why not? I've always been fascinated by castrati and castrato singers. Like when I found out that it was a thing, I was like, what? This is so weird. And it was like such a popular thing for so long, and these poor people who did this, you just have to feel for them.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely, for the ones who feel like maybe they had no choice or that were forced into it. Yeah. It's sad.
It's really sad.
Yeah. I guess, yeah.
There's so much.
This, like my brain is running through all this stuff. Wow. I didn't even know about them. So let's just say that you've enlightened me. I didn't even know. I didn't realize such a thing existed.
You learn something new every day.
Something new every day. Go home.
Yeah. So, I guess this is where I just say, thank you for today.
Thank you.
And one thing I will say is do us a favor and keep all your body parts intact.
Let's keep our body parts.
Yeah. Please.
We have them for a reason.
Yeah. Unless a wild boar comes and tears it off, then
then you can have the rest of it taken off.
Yeah, that's totally okay.
Otherwise,
yeah, just keep them, please.
Thanks for the story.
Thank you.
It was fun.
Until next time.
Enjoyed.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.